firearms and gun laws. Our local sheriff doesn't like it. This is bad legislation. And the court found that many provisions of it, at least one or more, were unconstitutional. So they ran it through again. Okay, even though the first one is still not officially adjudicated yet, they filed another bill to try to tweak some of the language because they anticipate, well, this one will work and get through the gauntlet. Here's the problem with this, and I said this on the House floor. So what that means is that if there's a problem locally, if the police department pulls someone over, like I said, they can't bring in help from the federal government enforcing these gun laws, or there's a fine, right? I mean, Democrats are accused of defunding the police, but they're going to fine these sheriff's departments if they reach out to the federal government to help them. So let me tell you what that means specifically. I talked about this on the House floor. So what this means is you could have an officer on the highway, and they're patrolling I-70, and they see a car going 100 miles an hour down I-70 at 2 in the morning. The officer, say a sheriff's deputy or highway patrol, could pull the person over. It could be a male in the car. He could be angry, agitated, maybe even smell like intoxicants. And the officer can look and see a gun in the seat. The officer could then maybe do a portable breath test and find out the person's maybe just below the legal limit. Say the legal limit's 0.08, this person's like a 0.06. The officer could then run his background and find out that, and the officer could ask the individual, hey, where are you headed? And he could say, well, you know what? I'm going to pay my ex-wife a visit, the little witch. And he could go and say, okay, well, stay there, I'm gonna go run your information. And the officer can look him up and find out that there was an order of protection against her towards the guy in the car that had just expired 2 weeks ago. And the officer could also see that the guy had a misdemeanor domestic assault on his record. See, and there's a gun in the car. So if you have a gun in the car and you have a misdemeanor domestic assault, federally that's a problem. Okay, you can't have a firearm. You can't have a firearm if you have a misdemeanor domestic assault on your record. But in state law, you can. So the officer could see all of this, see the guy's agitated, he told the officer where he's going, it's 2 in the morning, he's going 100 miles an hour, smells like alcohol, and he can't do anything about it. He can write him a ticket and say, you know what, here's a ticket for speeding, but he has to send him on his way. And if he makes a phone call and he calls the feds and say, by the way, just want to tip you off, there's a guy in violation of federal gun law, you might want to stop him before he gets there, he gets in trouble and he gets fined. That's how ridiculous these laws are. That's how ridiculous SAPA is. Dwayne Carey was on the House, why even text him, hey, are you in favor of this? No, he doesn't like it. Law enforcement agencies don't like this. It's not good for the city of Columbia. The city of Columbia doesn't like it. Our police chief doesn't like it. These are problem bills. And one of the issues is, and I brought this up before, is that a lot of the people on the other side of the aisle, they're afraid. They know that this common sense legislation needs to be stopped, but they're afraid. There's a guy, his name is Aaron Dorr, with his Firearms Coalition. And he comes to the meetings, a big guy, and he intimidates the legislators, Republican legislators. So he sits there and he takes their photos, he videotapes them. If they even say something slightly out of line, he posts it on their website. And he sits up in the gallery, he looks down, he takes photos of them, and they're intimidated by him. So last year, there was a freshman, she was on committee with me, and I talked about some legislation I had filed, like common sense gun legislation, basically banning teenagers from purchasing semi-automatic weapons. And I said, would you support this? And she said, yeah, I'll think about it. And then a few days later, maybe a week or so later, I'm on the House floor, says, David, I need to talk to you. And she looks scared. So I go over and say, what's wrong? And she's looking around to see who's watching. And she says, listen, I can't support this. She said, when I was in committee, I got a text. And somebody said, I know who this guy is. He's from a rural town. He says, I'm watching you. These people are afraid. They're afraid to come out. And so I've talked to a lot of people on one of the crime prevention committees a few years ago, went to everyone, knocked on all their doors, sat down with them. Most of the Republicans, they don't care. There's about 6 to 10 Republicans out of the over 100 that are adamantly against common sense gun reform. But most of them are like, you know what, I just don't want to be the only one to stick my neck out. They're afraid of the consequences. And they're living in fear because of what they're afraid the far right's going to do to them, that they're going to primary them, or much worse, you don't know. A Republican called me to the side, a leading Republican, and he told me earlier, he said, I think I can get 20. I think I can get 20 Republicans to come out. And this is a person that voted against SAPA, and then a third Republican voted against SAPA. And I spoke on the House floor and I told them not to be afraid. So it's not gonna go anywhere this time, but we have to be on guard because of this. I mean, they're continually to push this, but a lot of it is exposing what's happening to them. They know that it's time for common sense gun legislation. They know that bills like SAPA are ridiculous. When the local law enforcement agencies say they're bad, they're still pushing for it because they're afraid of the far right in the gun lobby. So we've got to continue to do our part, continue to fight for common sense gun legislation. I mean, my son just graduated from Hickman, but it's a thing now that you're afraid of school shootings and all these horrible things that can happen. So, thank you.